I want you to do something right now. Before I say anything else, before I even introduce myself, before I explain why this matters, I just want you to do this one particular test. I want you to take out your phone, open a blank note, and write down the top 3 strategic priorities for your business right now. Not the ones on the wall, not the ones in the strategy document from last year, the real ones. The 3 things that matter most in your business in the next 90 days. Just write them down. I hope you've done that. Good. Now, here's what I want you to do next. Tomorrow morning, before your first meeting, ask every member of your leadership team to do exactly the same thing. Independently, no discussion, no conferring. Just write down the top 3 strategic priorities, then collect the answers and put them side by side. What you see in that particular moment will tell you more about your leadership team than any annual review, any 360 assessment, any strategy session, or any board meeting you may have ever conducted. Because if you get 5 different answers from 5 different leaders, the alignment you believe exists in your business is a performance and it's not a practice. And that gap between what the team agrees in the meeting and what they actually believe outside it is where your margin lives. Now, for those who don't know me, my name is Vijay Mistri. I'm a leadership operating systems architect. And today, what I want to do is I want to show you what this simple test reveals about the 15 gaps hiding inside your leadership team. Now, before I go any deeper, let me explain what I mean when I say a gap. Because if this is the first video of mine you are watching, I need you to understand this clearly. A gap is not a vague feeling that something is off. It is not a personality clash. It is not a motivational problem. A gap is a specific, measurable dysfunction in your leadership system that I can identify, quantify in pounds or dollars, and fix with a structural intervention. I've identified 15 of them across 5 dimensions, which are collective intelligence, strategic clarity, governance architecture, cultural integrity, and financial command. Every leadership team I have ever worked with has between 5 and 8 of these gaps at any given time, and they're always there. The only question is whether anyone has made them visible. That is what I do. And the test you just did is the fastest way to see the first one. So, what do the answers reveal? Let me walk you through it, because this test does not just show one gap, it shows the health of your entire leadership operating system. So, assume your leadership team gives 5 different answers to the same question. The first thing it reveals is gap number 1, which is leadership fragmentation. Your team is not aligned. They're not pulling in different directions because they are incompetent. They are pulling in different directions because the system never ensured they were on the same page. That alignment that feels real in the meetings is a conversation. What happens outside the meeting is actually the reality. And the reality is that your team is executing 5 different strategies while believing they are all executing one. Now, for a typical small business, £3 million business, leadership fragmentation alone would cost around £8,000 to £15,000 per year in duplicated effort, conflicting projects, and wasted resource. For a £10 million business, that would be about £25,000 to £50,000. For a £30 to £50 million business, this is going to compound significantly because the decisions are bigger and the ripple effect reach further. But here is where it gets deeper. If the priorities are different, it almost always means that the strategy has not been formally recalibrated in over 12 months, which is gap number 5, which is strategic drift. The business has moved, the market has shifted, but the strategy document is still sitting in a drawer reflecting assumptions that are no longer valid. Each leader has unconsciously adapted the strategy to fit their own function. The sales director thinks growth is the priority. The operation director thinks efficiency is the priority. The finance director thinks cash is the priority. All of them are right from their perspective, but nobody has sat down to ask this question, which is, which one comes first? Now, this is not a disagreement. That is the absence of a decision. And the absence of a decision is the most expensive thing in your particular business. Now, if you just dig even deeper into the test results, you're going to find something else. Some of your leaders will have written priorities that are safe and uncontroversial. Grow revenue, improve efficiency, retain talent. These are actually not priorities. They are wallpaper. They are so broad that nobody can be held accountable for delivering them and nobody can be challenged for failing. And this is what reveals gap number 3, which is conflict avoidance. Your team is too polite to commit to something specific because specific commitments can be measured and things that can be measured can fail. The discussion team avoids this discomfort by keeping everything vague enough that failure is never visible. And this reveals gap number 11, which is accountability erosion. If priorities are vague, accountability cannot exist. You cannot hold someone accountable for growing revenue. You can hold them accountable for increasing gross margin on the top 20 clients by 3% by June. That is specific. That is measurable. That is accountable. And most leadership teams have never really operated at that level of precision because the system was never designed to demand it. So let me just pause here and share something which is personal, because I think this is going to really matter. There was a very successful CEO once who told me that he wished he had a life like mine. Now, he was extremely wealthy. He ran a large manufacturing business. He had everything that society considered success. But he was exhausted. He was stretched across every function, every decision, every meeting. He had not taken a proper holiday in years. And he was just sitting across from me saying, I wish I had what you have. Now, he did not need more money. He did not need a better strategy. He needed someone to show him that the system he had built around himself was the thing holding everything back. Not his team, not the market, the system. So when I asked him to do this particular test with his leadership team, the results changed everything. Because for the first time, he could see that the alignment he believed existed was actually an illusion. His team was not aligned. They were compliant. They nodded in meetings because challenging the founder felt career limiting. They wrote safe priorities because specific commitments had never been rewarded. And they waited for his approval on everything because the system had never really given them permission to decide. Now, that is not a team problem. That is a system problem. And the moment he saw it, the conversation shifted from, why is my team not performing, to, why did I build a system that prevents them from performing? That shift is the most powerful thing that I personally have witnessed in my work, because it moves the CEO from frustration to architecture, from blaming people to fixing the system. And once you fix the system, the people do not need to be fixed. They just need to be freed. Now, here's a phrase I want you to remember because I think it captures everything I've just described. Your business is performing to the level your system allows, not the level your talent deserves. So I want you to read that again. Your talent might be exceptional. Your people might be brilliant. But if the system constrains them, if the priorities are unclear, if decisions queue at one desk, if accountability dissolves by Friday, if the financial intelligence is retrospective instead of diagnostic, then the talent will only ever perform at the level the system allows. And I think about it like the koi fish. If you take a koi fish and put it in a fish bowl, it will grow 2 inches. Put the same fish in a river and it grows 12 inches. The fish did not change. The environment did. Your leadership team is actually the koi fish. The leadership operating system is the environment. And the test you just did is the first indicator of whether your environment is the bowl or is it the river. Now, let me connect this to the world you're operating in right now, because the test results are not just an internal insight. They have an external consequence that is becoming more dangerous by the month. Now, we are in first quarter of 2026, which is finished. Every business is navigating uncertainty. Tariffs are shifting, supply chains under pressure, geopolitical instability, AI reshaping entire industries, rising cost, competitive pressure, regulatory change. The external environment is more volatile than it has ever been in a generation. Now, in that environment, the business that survive will not be the ones with the best strategy. They will be the ones whose leadership system can decide and move fastest. A leadership team that is fragmented, that cannot agree on priorities, that is going to avoid difficult conversations, that dissolves accountability under pressure, that team will not survive a market shock. That not because the people are weak, because the system is fragile. And the 90-day test reveals whether your system is fragile or is it resilient. And the answer to that question is worth more than any strategy document you have ever written. Now, if you did the test and the answers came back aligned, congratulations, your system is working. But if the answers came back different, and they almost always do, there are 3 free tools that will help you go a bit deeper. First, I've got this CEO scorecard. There are only 5 questions across all 5 dimensions of the leadership operating system. It's going to take you 60 seconds. It's free, no email required. It will show you immediately which dimension is your biggest blind spot. What I'll do is I'll leave the link in the description below. Second, about the CEO blind spot report. This is a 12-page diagnostic briefing that covers all 15 gaps, what they cost, and the exact process I use to find and fix them. Again, it's free. It's going to take 10 minutes to read. I'll also put it in the description. And third is the Gap Unlock questionnaire at vijay.mistri.com. 12 questions, 3 to 4 minutes. I personally review every single response and identify 2 to 3 gaps specific to your business. This is not a bot, not a team. It's me personally, and I also leave the link in the description below. Now, if this is all resonating, I want you to do me a favor. I would really appreciate if you could hit subscribe, because I'm releasing a full series covering all 15 gaps and the insights that come with them. And subscribing means you will not miss what is coming next. I'm Vijay Mistri, Clarity First, Impact Fast. I will see you in the next one.